Imagine you're going to a grocery store. You park your car, enter the building, purchase what you need, and then exit. However, as you leave the building, you look out across the parking lot filled with shoppers and cars and can't remember where you parked your car. Was it by the tree, the cart return area, or was it over there in the far corner? That confusion you feel as you wander about the parking lot trying to recall the location of your car is an example of a brief lapse in spatial memory. A similar disruption of spatial memory can be caused by the use of ketamine and may last much longer than originally thought. But before I delve too far into ketamine and its possible long-term consequences, what exactly is ketamine? Ketamine is a drug that was derived from phenylpiperidine in 1962. It was originally used as a battlefield anesthetic during the Vietnam War and is still used as a local anesthetic. Ketamine is considered a non-competitive antagonist at NMDA receptors, which are a type of glutamate receptor. Glutamate is an excitatory neurotransmitter that can be found throughout the nervous system and is vital in many functions, including learning and memory. The presence of ketamine reduces glutamate's functioning and causes a variety of effects, which include distortions in one's perception of auditory and visual stimuli, with high doses of ketamine generally causing psychedelic experiences. These properties have caused ketamine to become a popular club drug, resulting in ketamine being classified as a Schedule III drug in the United States due to its potential for abuse. While it can be administered many ways, the most common way to take ketamine is intranasally, that is, through the nose. About 15 minutes after taking ketamine, the individual will begin to feel the effects, but this greatly depends on the route of administration, as it can be much faster if it's taken intravenously. The high lasts about 30 minutes to a few hours, and during this high, the individual will likely experience visual and auditory distortions, dissociation, pain relief, as well as working and spatial memory disruptions. All these effects make ketamine particularly enticing for those seeking to escape reality through the use of drugs. Unlike many drugs of abuse, ketamine's dangers are relatively few, at least as far as we know. Most of its danger lies in the confused and compliant state in which the user is left. This causes them to be at a greater risk from environmental threats. Furthermore, ketamine seems to have few, if any, withdrawal symptoms, indicating that ketamine addiction is based mostly on psychological rather than physical dependence. Thus, for many drug users, the dangers of ketamine are subtle and insignificant. However, most research has only examined the immediate effects of ketamine. Very little research has delved into the potential long-term effects ketamine may cause individuals. Since so few past studies have chosen to examine the potential long-term negative consequences of ketamine abuse, and since younger individuals are more at risk for drug-taking behavior, the present study chose to examine the long-term effects on spatial and non-spatial learning and memory caused by ketamine exposure during late adolescence. For this study, rat models in late adolescence were used. There were 3 treatment conditions: a high-ketamine drug group, a low-ketamine drug group, and a saline control group. Each rat was given 10 injections during late adolescence, and after 42 drug-free days, the trials commenced. The first phase of the experiment used a Morse water maze. The simple place learning was used to assess non-declarative memory and swimming ability to ensure the rats did not suffer from any overt impairments. Then, spatial water maze tasks were used to assess spatial learning, reference memory, and working memory. For all of these tasks, the rats were placed into one of 4 quadrants facing the wall at the cardinal points north, south, east, or west. Once they were placed in the water, a stopwatch was started, and the rat would be timed to see how long it took to reach the escape platform. The number of quadrants the rat crossed on its quest to find the escape platform was counted and recorded. For instance, let's place the rat here, at the south point of the Morse water maze. the amount of time it takes the rat to find the escape platform over here, as well as the number of quadrants it crosses on its quest to find the escape platform, was recorded. For the simple place learning, probe trials were conducted at the end of a session. This probe trial was when the escape platform was not placed in the maze, and the amount of time a rat spent in the formerly correct quadrant where the escape platform should have been was recorded. The next phase of the experiment utilized a radial arm water maze. Each arm could be partitioned off to allow for a different configuration of the maze, and for the first test, only 4 arms configured in a plus or cross shape were used to assess non-spatial response learning and perseverative behavior. The time it took for the rat to find the platform, along with the errors it made, were recorded. The errors were defined as when the rat went down either the wrong channel or re-entered a channel it had already been down. All 8 arms of the radial arm maze were used for the final phase to assess working and spatial reference memory. These trials were a bit more complicated, with 4 escape platforms instead of just 1. Once the rat found a platform, the platform was then removed, and the rat would be placed back into the maze. This was repeated until the rat had found all the platforms. Just like the plus or cross maze, the number of errors a rat made and the time it took for the rat to find the escape platform was recorded. So, after all these tests, what did we find? For the simple place learning, the time it took for all rats to find the escape platform decreased over days of testing, which indicates that these rats were capable of learning. The low-ketamine group spent significantly more time than the high-ketamine group in the formerly correct quadrant during probe trials. This shows that the low-ketamine rats likely had a better recall of the platform location than the high-ketamine rats. Similar to the simple place learning, all rats demonstrated a decrease in escape latencies across days of testing in difficult place learning. Escape accuracy also improved, once again showing the capacity for rats in all drug groups to learn the tasks. The 8-arm radial maze is where the differences between drug groups were best demonstrated. Both the low-ketamine and the high-ketamine drug groups had significantly more working and reference memory errors than the control group. The difference between the high-ketamine, low-ketamine, and control groups can be seen by the bar graphs. The blue and green bars are the high and low-ketamine groups, respectively, and the pink bar is the saline control group. The top graph shows working memory errors. The little asterisk above the blue and the green bar indicates a significant difference from the pink or saline control. The bottom bar graph shows initial errors, also known as reference memory errors. Once again, the high-ketamine blue bar and the low-ketamine green bar were significantly different than the saline control. So, what does this all mean? While the results seem to indicate that spatial and non-spatial learning are not significantly impaired by ketamine, they also suggest that ketamine may cause long-term working and spatial memory impairments in individuals exposed to ketamine during late adolescence. Since prefrontal and parietal cortexes are important for working and spatial memory, there is a potential that ketamine could damage those areas in developing adolescent brains. This is a possible explanation as to why working and spatial memory impairments can be seen. These results also align with previous studies that indicated ketamine exposure may cause cognitive impairments in developing brains. For instance, infants exposed to anesthetic ketamine 3 or more times had a greater risk of improper neurodevelopment than infants who were not exposed to ketamine. This present study would suggest that ketamine causes lasting working memory and spatial memory impairments, which persist into adulthood, when individuals choose to abuse ketamine during late adolescence. So, while ketamine overdose is nearly unheard of, the effects of this hallucinogen are often pleasant and the negative consequences, at least at this point, seem to be slight, there is a distinct possibility that ketamine's real danger does not manifest itself in the immediate abuse of the drug, but years after the abuse has taken place. Therefore, further research examining long-term risks of ketamine abuse should be conducted, as well as additional studies examining if the risk of persisting memory impairments is only limited to individuals who use ketamine within a certain developmental period. If you have any questions or comments regarding this study, please feel free to email me.